All right, let's get into it. Back in 2013, a documentary called Sirius dropped, and it made some huge claims. We're talking about a mysterious tiny skeleton, a global conspiracy, and a secret that could change the world. So that's what we're going to do here, break down exactly what the film was all about.
Right off the bat, the film hits you with these three things that seem totally disconnected: a tiny 6-inch humanoid, a massive shadow government conspiracy, and the promise of basically free energy. The entire documentary revolves around one central question: how on earth could these three things possibly be connected?
So the whole thing kicks off with the most solid piece of evidence they've got, a tiny 6-inch tall humanoid skeleton. It was nicknamed Ata because it was found in Chile's Atacama Desert. And trust me, this thing is just weird. It seems to defy any easy explanation. And it wasn't just filmmakers who were captivated by this. When scientists at Stanford University were presented with the remains, their first reaction was basically, whoa, what is this? This wasn't something they had ever seen before, and it kicked off a very serious scientific investigation. So when they actually analyzed this thing, the results were just bizarre. Check out these contradictions. The bone density suggested it had lived for 6 to 8 times years, yet it was only the size of a fetus. It had 10 ribs instead of the 12 that we have. And the DNA? While the DNA proved its mother was human, but the genome itself was packed with all these anomalies that, at the time, couldn't be explained by any known genetic disorder. It was a complete medical puzzle.
So you're probably wondering, how do you get from a tiny, mysterious skeleton to a massive global conspiracy? Well, this is where the documentary makes its big pivot. It uses this very real scientific puzzle, the autoskeleton, to ground its much bigger, harder-to-prove claim about a shadow government. And to set the stage, it pulls out a famous warning from a U.S. president. In his final address to the nation, President Eisenhower warned about the growing power of what he famously called the military-industrial complex. The film frames this as a huge deal, not just some historical speech, but a president basically admitting on his way out the door that a shadow power was growing beyond even his control. So, in the context of this film, what are we really talking about here? It's not just about defense contractors. The way they see it, it's this shadowy mix of private companies and secret government programs that's basically become its own thing, operating with no oversight whatsoever, not even from the president. And the film tries to show just how deep this secrecy goes. They present testimony suggesting that even CIA directors can't get access to these projects. You've got military witnesses claiming UFO data is just buried, hidden from the official channels. The whole argument is that this isn't about national security. It's an illegal, rogue government that answers to nobody. So why all the secrecy? Why go to these crazy lengths? According to the documentary, it's not really about aliens at all. It's about something much more down to earth. Good old-fashioned money and power. And the film puts a price tag on that motive. A massive one. $600 trillion. That's their estimate for the value of all the industries, oil, gas, coal, you name it, that would basically become worthless overnight if this secret got out. So, what's the secret? The film claims that the technology inside these advanced craft, what people call UFOs, runs on something called zero-point or vacuum energy. The idea is you're tapping into this incredible energy that exists in the fabric of empty space itself. If that's real, you're talking about an infinite, clean, totally decentralized power source. It wouldn't just upend the energy industry, it would completely rewrite the rules of the global economy and who's in charge. And to back this up, the film points to this really dark pattern. It highlights inventors throughout history who came up with these amazing new energy devices, and then met with pretty tragic fates. You've got guys whose devices were smashed, others who were found dead in suspicious circumstances. The narrative here is that there's been a very real and very dangerous effort to keep this technology under wraps. Okay, so if you're facing this huge, shadowy conspiracy, what do you do? Well, the film doesn't just leave you hanging. It actually proposes a pretty radical solution, a way for regular people, for us, to just bypass the gatekeepers and make contact ourselves. And they call this a close encounter of the fifth kind, or CE5. It's a new category, right? The first few are about seeing things or, abductions. CE5 is different. It's about us initiating the contact, using techniques based on consciousness. So how does it work? The documentary lays it out as a 4-step protocol. First, you meditate to get into this state of expanded awareness. Then, you project your location.
Think of it like sending out a cosmic GPS coordinate of where you are on Earth. Third, you send out a peaceful, clear invitation for contact. And finally, you observe using things like night vision goggles or EMF detectors to see if you get a response. The whole point is to create your own evidence, sidestepping that whole military-industrial complex they're talking about.
So this all leads to the final act of the documentary, which is basically a call to arms. The message is pretty clear. Forget waiting for the government to tell you the truth. And this is really the core of their solution. If the powers that be aren't going to disclose what they know, then it's up to the people to create their own disclosure. It's about flipping the script. And to really drive this point home, they use this absolutely mind-blowing alleged quote from Ben Rich, who used to be the head of Lockheed's legendary Skunk Works. We're talking top-tier aerospace insider here. The quote basically says, the technology to go interstellar isn't some sci-fi dream. It already exists inside these secret programs. And that's the note Sirius ends on. It paints this picture of a world where the technology for a totally new kind of civilization is already here. It's just locked away. So the final question it poses to all of us is a powerful one. If the people in charge won't unlock that future, who will?